You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
Packers Talk.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans that just love talking about the Pack. We are not getting into national sports media talking points unless, of course, those talking points are about Micah Parsons. We're sticking to football and Packers football at that, breaking down these games during the season that we're in now and sorting through all the stuff in the offseason that we're not dealing with right now. So if y'all want to support the podcast, please spike that like button for us. Most importantly, jump on over to the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hit that little subscribe button for us. Follow along as a little bell. It'll let you know when we're streaming live, let you know when the other guys are streaming live. And it makes a very big difference for us. Only takes a few clicks of the button for you. And in the time that I've been asking for it, you could have done it already. So go do that right now. And we're just going to talk all things Micah Parsons tonight. So strap in for that. If you've got questions, they're going to be answered. If you've got hesitations, pack them away. Whatever it is, we're getting into all the different stuff. We're gonna go through all of it. Obviously, we're excited. There's no doubt about that. So if you're not bringing excitement about Micah Parsons, go away. We're not talking to you tonight. If you have concerns, that's valid. We're gonna address those. But first, of course, we do have to address the business of the show. Once again, sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as those Bucks and Brewers tickets and all the other tickets that you might need for your entertainment festivities. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember, support your local Wisconsin businesses. Of course, if you're not in Wisconsin, so support your local businesses. Tim, good evening, man. I'm not going to ask how you are. Like, I know how you are. We're pumped here. Like, what, again, like, scale of 1 to 10. What's the excitement level for the Packers defense now?
Oh, it's pretty high. I mean, for the Parsons trade, it's a 15. For the defense, whatever you want to call it. I don't, whatever. I'm super excited about this. I can't believe we're actually going to be talking about Micah Parsons being a Packer. And before we get into it, shout out to you. Because you were the one that said this was a possibility a long time ago, like a legit possibility, not just bringing up, the latest pass rusher rumor that we've been through a bunch of them, right? This offseason, all these guys that were going to be available that never were available. And it looked like Micah Parsons would be the next one that would just sign a big contract and stay with the team he was with. But you said, hold on, there's more to it than that. He might really become available and get traded. And I thought it was crazy up until Thursday when he actually got traded.
It really happened. Yeah.
It really, yeah. I'm still, I'm still checking every day to make sure it really did happen. I mean, I know we did see him on Monday with the Packers jersey on practicing, right? And he's going to play on Sunday unless all these internet, the Cowboys are going to keep leaking. His back is really bad.
Of
His
course.
back is terrible, right? Packers wouldn't have done the trade if his back was terrible, and they wouldn't be letting him practice and push around the blocking sled. But regardless, it really happens. As much as I keep checking and making sure and verifying that I'm awake and none of this is fake, right? Like, it happened, and hey, you said it could happen. So credit to you. I didn't think it was possible. I wasn't on board, so I'm not going to doubt you anymore.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Tim. I really do.
Yeah.
And, I do have to say, I never bit on the Trey Hendrickson stuff. Maybe, right? That would be something, but he didn't fit Goody's mold. Right? He's 31. Is his best football ahead of him. That was another thing that Goody had said and repeated. I don't think you can really bet that Trey Hendrickson's best football is ahead of him. He might have another great season, and then is he gonna have another one after that? Yeah, man. Like, and so I think Micah Parsons, not to get too into the puns, but the stars align. I think it was a combination of things. And for me, I'm sitting here in DFW, sort of watching from both perspectives. And the thing with Jerry was predictable. And it's funny how many Cowboys fans will still fight me on this, but I mean, it's basically played out now, and Jerry, I said it back in, before the draft when we were talking about, we had a whole episode. It was, this move would change everything because some Cowboys fans did a mock draft where they traded Micah Parsons to the Packers. But yeah, I mean, if Jerry could afford Micah, he would have done it. He loves doing that. Look how he did the other big contracts he's done. Now, granted, he drug out CDs, and a lot of people are comparing it to that. But with Dak, he loved making Dak the highest paid player in the league, even though he shouldn't be. Like, he loved doing big contracts for Tyron Smith. And, like, he's had so many big contracts he's done over the years. I can't even think of the passers. DeMarcus Lawrence, there's been so many of them where when he can do it, he loves it because he gets great attention to it, right? But when he can't, he can't. And he knew that. And it's, dude, if he could, he would. There's no reason to wait. Whether, if you're going to sign him, there's no benefit in waiting until camp versus getting it done back then. In fact, he should have done it a year ago and he would have saved himself $2 million. But that's been the pattern of Jerry. Like, if he can, he will. And you what? The day after they signed Deron Bland to a $96 million contract. Anyway, this is not the Cowboys podcast. There's plenty of them that are going to have to figure out all those issues. But the point being is, like, if Jerry could afford him, he would have. So I was pretty dug in that he was going to get traded. Now, it definitely made sense to, obviously as a Packers fan, to be like, what if this could happen? But I think on the Packers side, it was kind of a rare star alignment too, where you've got a roster that, Gute will never say you're one piece away. But from a fan's perspective, most of us, if you would say, hey, are you a Micah Parsons away from being a Super Bowl contender? We're like, yes. And so you're in that unique position where the roster is really strong. You don't have giant holes everywhere, but you, the roster is really strong. You don't have giant holes everywhere. You have some assets to work with a little bit. And it's like, okay, Gute, you're talking about urgency. How urgent are you? Here's the one thing that somebody would say is your hole. You're maybe the thing that needs to be addressed. You're saying urgency. It all aligned. Like, he fits the criteria. Best football in front of him. He's 26 years old. Can you afford him? Actually, you can. Like, most of the time in these fantasy situations with fans, we're sitting here going, yeah, but they're not able to check all those boxes. There's some stumble along the way. Can't afford him. Won't give up the compensation. He's maybe too old. Whatever it is. So it was a combination of things, man. And so I don't want to pretend to be an oracle, but I did see this coming. Not this particular deal, but Micah Parsons was out of Dallas long before anybody wanted to admit it. So anyway, how excited are you, man?
Extremely excited. Like I said, I still can't believe it happened, but it did. And this is kind of like that opportunity that the Packers just couldn't pass up, right? Like, it's in your prime, special, unique, rare player. 26 years old. You brought up Trey Hendrickson. He's 31 and he's a great player and all that. But you're not going to give up this haul and pay that kind of contract to a 31-year-old pass rusher who maybe has a couple really good years left in him, but the downside's going to hit pretty quick with him. Parsons is still going on the way up. Like, he's in this prime. He still has growth ahead of him. He's a great player. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league. The production's there. Prime of his career. Like, it just completely lines up with everything the Packers are looking for. A special athlete. This was that rare opportunity for them to not only address their biggest need, which was pass rush, but to address it with a special talent and a special player. And it's just something that Brian Gutekunst couldn't pass up. And yeah, 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, they win the trade, the Packers, but that's not like It's not like they gave up nothing to get him, but it's absolutely a trade that you make anytime when it's offered to you. When that's the terms, you take that trade for a player like that. You don't do it for anyone. Hell, you don't do it for any great pass rusher even. But for a pass rusher as talented and as rare as Micah Parsons is, like you do it. It fit everything for them, right? And Hendrickson was brought up, and we saw, TJ Watt was never truly available, but he was one of the big pass rushers who signed an extension this year. He's another one. He's in his 30s. Myles Garrett is turning 30 or 30 years old, right? He was never truly available. He at one point this offseason demanded a trade, and then all of a sudden got paid right after that. Parsons was the one that fit the criteria. And then for the Packers to be in on him, be able to meet the terms that the Cowboys wanted that can make this happen, pay the contract, and then to really take advantage of a situation that was created by the owner there, Jerry Jones. It all goes back to Jerry negotiated, tried to bypass an agent to get a better deal for the Cowboys by going directly to the player.
And the thing is there's the only reason you would do that is because you need to convince the player to take a deal he shouldn't take. That's the only reason to leave the agent out of it. That's
exactly. And all the stuff that's been leaked to the media is coming from the Cowboys end of it. Now today you see his agent actually went on record and said, you know what? Yeah, they were going to pay him whatever it was, $40.5 million would have made him the highest paid, but really it wasn't going to guarantee him as much money as what the Packers are, and truly it wasn't as good a deal as what has been reported. Right? You got to look at the details of it, not just the big numbers, and that's why Jerry wanted him to sign it, because he was bypassing the agent. He's done that with other players in the past for a long time. If there was a real players union, they would have fought this and filed a grievance long ago, but they don't really have a tough players union. But regardless, you can't do that. And so Parsons, maybe he said, yeah, okay, I think we have something here. He's not completely innocent, because there was some kind of, I guess, unclear conclusion to it all where Jerry felt like a deal, but you can't do that. You have to go through the agent. When Micah came back to him and said, talk to my agent, that's when it blew up, and Jerry let his ego and his power trip get in the way, and it got to this point, and it got that ugly where Jerry finally said to him, you're either going to play on the fifth-year option or we're going to trade you. And they traded him. And so the Packers took advantage of that opportunity. And Gute, his first press conference when he was introduced as GM, said, we're going to be in on every conversation. Well, they were in on this one early enough to get ahead of it, so that when it did blow up and when it did finally come down to the deadline, they needed to get that deal done because they have a Thursday night opener with the Eagles. And Jerry said, you're either going to play on the fifth-year option or we're going to trade you. The fifth-year option wasn't an option really for Micah Parsons.
Too much risk.
The Packers were in, and they had the deal agreed to. And, then shortly thereafter, because they have a relationship too with the agent, I'm sure that didn't hurt. Jordan Love's agent, Xavier McKinney's agent, they were able to get it done. So it's in his prime special player. There's a lot of good pass rushers. He's at the top of the list. He is the potential.
I think just from an ability perspective, I think he's the best right now.
You can make that argument, right? He is a special player, and he's a versatile player. You're not just going to put him on one side and be you can move him all around. We're going to talk about that with the Lions, because there's a matchup there in the Lions game that he can really take advantage of. But he's a special player who is still on the upward trajectory of his career. And with everything he's shown statistically, ability-wise, just his raw athletic talent and ability, he could be a Hall of Fame player. And you're getting him at 26 years old. You're not getting him at 31 or 32, where, maybe he's still got a couple more good years, but then it's going to start to go downhill, and maybe quickly with these guys. They can fall off, even the great ones. He's still
absolutely
going upwards. And then the price to get him, I think when you have the ability to get a special player like that, top of his position, one of the best in the league in the prime of his career, I think the compensation, what you're going to pay him and what you're going to give up, he kind of just it's almost secondary. Like if you can get a guy like that, he's a game changer. He's a franchise-changing player at the second most important position in football after quarterback, as a pass rusher, getting to the quarterback. It just
I'm
it
sold,
changes
dude.
everything. Yeah, and I mean, I don't look 2 first-round picks. It's not nothing to just dismiss, but I give
Well,
that up any time. And Kenny Clark, I love Kenny Clark, and I'm not gonna like badmouth Kenny Clark, but you're talking about a guy who's turning 30, coming off the worst season of his career. Yes, he got hurt in the first game of the year and played through it. We don't truly know how much that affected his game, but he's not on a upward trajectory. Like the end's gonna come for him pretty soon, and he's on a bad contract at this point. Like they signed him to that extension last summer. I bet behind the scenes, Gute was probably saying, "Damn, why did we commit to that?" Right? Like third contract, he saw a bad year, he saw an injury. Like maybe Kenny's got some good ball in him, and I really hope he does. Even though he's with the Cowboys, he's a dude you root for. But my God, Kenny Clark and getting out of the contract, 2 first-round picks for a special pass rusher like Micah Parsons, who's going to make your entire defense better. It's a no-brainer. Anytime. Like
Yeah.
there's risk in any deal. Michael Parsons could, I don't know, maybe he gets the contract and he gets fat and happy and doesn't work anymore.
But you don't win a Super Bowl by not taking risk.
You have to. You have to take risks. Every team that's ever won anything does, right?
Yeah.
Any team. So yeah, you do that deal all day, and if it
So
doesn't
I mean,
work out,
you answered the question. You don't believe the price was too high,
no.
and I don't either. I think it's easy to look at the package and go, "Ooh, 2 first-round picks. Yikes!" Like what about the foundation of the team? What about the rest of the team? What about team building? That kind of stuff.
Right.
I hear you. And Kenny Clark too. I don't think that was a situation where Goot was ready to move on from Kenny Clark as much as the Cowboys. And this was something I said last week too when we were talking, or when I was teasing the last time about the trade. I said if there's going to be a player involved in a trade like that, they need interior D line and they need offensive tackle. So Goot said that the deal wasn't going to get done without Kenny Clark. So
right.
I think that was something that the Cowboys came to the table with pretty clearly.
And I'm kind of fine with that. I think it's kind of strange.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like you could go for a younger, cheaper player. And I know Devontae Wyatt isn't proven like Kenny Clark has been, but he's younger and he's on the 5th-year option. So you can extend him. You can, if he doesn't work out, you can move on from him after that. But he's a younger player who still has upside. Lucas Van Ness, he's not an interior player, but he'd give you pass rush. And I know Lucas Van Ness isn't there yet, but he's an ascending, hopefully, player going into his 3rd year. Like, hell, they could ask for Rashawn Gary, who's already an established player. Like, it's just weird that they
might have, but Goody might have said, hell no.
But it seems like from both sides have been pretty open about it. Like, it wasn't getting done without Kenny Clark. And that,
right.
I love Kenny Clark. Again, I appreciate everything he did. He carried the G. He was a great leader in the locker room. I think that's where they're going to miss him the most is his leadership. But it's weird that they would insist on him, right? Like, and that, like, if you're giving up Kenny Clark in a Micah Parsons trade, okay, sorry. It sucks for Kenny. That was like my initial when I heard it was Kenny Clark. Was like, man, that sucks. He won't get to play with Micah Parsons. Like, he's been a long time Packer. He's never played with a player. He's played with some good ones on defense, but never a player like Michael Parsons. And it sucks he won't get to experience that. But yeah, you do that deal. And like you're saying, yes, there's going to be – it's going to affect other players down the line. Like there's going to be guys they won't be able to keep. But Kenny Clark was going to be probably a guy they weren't going to keep at the end of this year regardless of Michael Parsons because of his contract, because of his age. Even if he bounced back a little bit this year, there's probably a decent chance they were going to move on from that contract at the end of the year anyway. And they have a lot of free agents coming up, but you can't re-sign them anyway. And we already can kind of see like there's succession plans in place for some of these guys, offensive line, receiver, like they've already got other guys set up at those positions. So they were moving on anyway. And now maybe you move on from a few other guys. Maybe, they've talked about Quay Walker. They want to extend them. Maybe there's not money for that. Personally, I'm fine with that. Let's see how Quay Walker plays this year before we even look at that. And you see how Hopper played much better in the second year, how he looks a lot better. Like, so maybe they look at that and say, you know what, we can't do an extension now. Quay, we're going to lose him. But I'm kind of okay with that. Like, Micah Parsons is special. Like, he's the kind of guy that you need. Like, that sets your franchise up. He's a building block. He's a cornerstone. And when we had Jersey Al on for our 100th episode, I think one of our topics was, do they have enough playmakers? Do they have enough difference makers? And we were all kind of like, well, maybe if, this player does this and this player has a jump and more consistency, like, but the answer is kind of like, no, but maybe they do. Well, they traded for Micah Parsons. He's a difference maker for sure, no matter what. It's worth it.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And I think that it's also not nearly as crippling as it might seem. The something that was interesting, because I listened to the interview with David Mulligetta, was it Stephen A. Smith, I think? And he was talking about kind of looking the next few years into the future as top pass rushers get more deals, and talking about how a few years from now, that might be a $70-75 million player, right? And so if he's at 40 at that point in time, that's a $30 million difference to him, which is like, dang, you think about that. That's interesting. But you go out and you look at this deal, it's like, yeah, well, they've got him at, I think it's like 66, 68, somewhere in year 4 and 5. So, yeah, you get a few years out and his deal definitely gets a little heavier, but it's right in line and probably right under top of market. So you're probably at the end of the day going to get to pay fair market price for a guy who could get outrageous money if he hit the market.
Right.
Yeah, especially, if you give him another couple years, it just keeps going up and up, and the salary cap keeps going up. So you can't pretend that everything's going to be the same in a couple of years. It's not, and the other thing is they've got succession plans built in.
Right.
I think some people were drawing comparisons like, well, yeah, when they signed Woodson, they still had to go off and draft these other guys. And it's like, but they've already done that part, and they've like drafted. You've got Evan Williams, you've got Edge Cooper, you've got Quay Walker, you got Devontae Wyatt, did anybody see Colby Wooden? Holy crap. Did you see him in pictures? The guy is jacked. He's monstrous. His arms look like humans, dude. He's huge.
He's going to be key now.
He looks like he could just throw people around. And so it's just like, I'm looking at this going like, yeah, they've already stacked the deck. They just needed this difference maker to really complete the picture. So I don't worry about the next 2 years of first round picks, because to be honest, if you need those, well, something probably went wrong. At this point, the nucleus of this team is there for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and if you're picking in the 20s like they usually are, you're not getting a Micah Parsons there unless you get really like. And I know everybody can bring up, T.J. Watt was a late first round pick, as we know, and Max Crosby was a third round pick, and they're great passers. Like, yes, but they're the exceptions. Like, to get a Micah Parsons, you need like a top 5 pick,
right? Top 10 pick. I think he was top 10. Yeah.
Or he was 11, but that was weird because he didn't play his last year of football.
Well, and the Bears took Justin Fields right before him, right?
That might have been, yeah. But
I think that's
regardless, like to get a special pass rusher like that in the 20s, you got to hit a home run. Like, you got to get somebody that just exceeds what the expectations are, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting a Lucas Van Ness, a developmental guy, which may be fine in the long run, but you're not getting a special generational player like Parsons. And as far as the money goes, like even Gute said, he likes the first 3 years of the contract. So really, it's probably a 3-year deal, and then we'll see after that. They'll have to restructure or extend them. But there's also, keep in mind, like their TV contracts, they can opt out of them pretty soon. There's going to be a new collective bargaining agreement in a few years. They're going to add an 18th game. So like the salary cap, as you know it now, is going to skyrocket with all the money they're going to get from adding an 18th game, adding an international game every week. The new TV contracts, like all that stuff.
The top agent in the game knows that, right? Like he's able to account for those things.
And it was just a couple of years ago when Rodgers was signing his deal that was making him the highest paid quarterback. And we're like, wow, that's a lot for. And then within months, he was getting passed by all these guys, right? And it's the same thing here. Like Aiden Hutchinson's going to get a new deal, whether that's during the season or after. And he'll probably beat Parsons. And there will be other guys that within the next year and a half are going to beat Parsons' deal, and you're going to be like, okay, well, it's not that much, right? In the here and now, yeah, he's the highest paid pass rusher, but that's what happens when all these other pass rushers, Crosby, Watt, Myles Garrett, all these guys that signed big contracts all this offseason, and he was the last one to go. He beat them all. If he was the first one, they would all surpassed his number, right? That was the number. He was the last one to sign. He wanted to be the highest one. That's just what it is. That's the bar that was set. It happened with the receivers recently. They all started going up as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and all those guys got their deals. So now a top receiver is $30 million a year. That's Devontae Adams signed a few years ago when they traded him to the Raiders, and it was 25 or whatever million, and that was the high bar. Oh, how can you? And now that's nothing for a number one receiver.
Average. Yeah.
So the money is I don't get tied up in that.
Yeah.
And he's that good, and he's 26 years old. Pay him top of the market. And it's going to make it tougher. They're paying Jordan Love a huge contract. They're paying Micah Parsons a huge contract. Yeah, it's going to make it tougher to keep some of your guys, and it's going to make it tougher to go out and get free. I get that. But he's a special player. You don't sign him, then, okay, you can go out and sign these other free agents, but they're not going to be Micah Parsons. He's the difference maker. He's a top of the franchise player. Right now, he's their best player.
Yeah,
right.
That's fair.
I hope Jordan Love surpasses it because he's a quarterback and it's the most important position. But he's their best player. So you pay it, and you have to draft well. And now you're taking away 2 first-round picks, but they're going to get picks. They know they're going to get compensation picks because they're going to let some free agents walk. You're going to fill in, and yes, you have to draft and develop better.
But look at the track record at rounds 2 through 7.
Right. And
that's where the nucleus of this team came from.
He's a difference maker. He's a foundational player that we're talking about. It's on a different level than anybody else they have. If you add a guy like that, you don't go, well, you can't pay him that much or trade first-round picks. No, you get him. Nobody's looking back at Charles Woodson's career in Green Bay and being like, wow, they shouldn't have signed him. Wow, how could you give him he changed the franchise, right? He was Defensive Player of the Year. He's a Packer Hall of Famer. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. That's what Micah Parsons can be for you. So you figure it out, right? And you got to develop guys. You got to extend guys earlier, so hopefully you get them better contracts, whatever it may be. You won't be able to go out and sign top of the market free agents probably. But that's okay because you have a top of the position, top of the NFL edge rush. It's the most important position on defense.
Exactly. So you can, and the way that it's actually taken shape, you can build a roster where you've got Micah Parsons, you've got great linebackers, you've got even a strong safety group, and maybe you're not the happiest with your cornerback group. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The safeties are going to protect them over the top. They're going to be able to direct the skies from the secondary. The linebackers are monsters, and they're all athletic, so they're going to contribute to coverage, and not in a bad way. And then the pass rush is going to be the best pass rush we've seen from the Packers since Clay Matthews was in his prime. And hopefully it'll be even better than that. My goodness, will that be fun to watch?
I mean, you don't worry about the corners if the quarterback's laying on his back.
Exactly. At that point, the corners should look like all pros because they got support from everywhere else. And not to say that the guys that you have aren't good corners. I think they're good corners. Are they your strongest position on the team? No. But if they play the game right, there's going to be opportunities to go around. So if they capitalize on their opportunities, they're going to have an opportunity to have a career season. Whoever, Nixon, Hobbs, Valentine, one of the three of them is going to have it because everything else is going to be shut down. The front seven, the pass rush, again, the safeties, they're not going to be able to go over the top on this team. You're going to have to go take shots at the corners. And if these guys, again, if they play it right, they should be turnover machines here. You should have a Deron Bland level of anomaly of a season here.
Yeah, and he just got paid. Whatever.
No. We don't need to be paying $100 million cornerbacks over here because they had one fluke season. Now, Deron Bland's good, but he's not $100 million.
He got some pick sixes, but he gave up a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
But like you have an All-Pro, Micah Parsons, a phenomenal player, and then Xavier McKinney. We saw what he did as a first-year Packer, and he's a stud. And then I think in the middle of that defense, Edgerrin Cooper is the next star. So you have guys at 3 levels of your defense that are going to be among the best at their positions. Plus, then you put in Rashawn Gary, who's a damn good player. And I think with the Micah Parsons deal, watch out for him because, he's going to be getting a lot of single teams now, right? Like nobody's going to be paying attention to
this. Makes everybody better.
Makes everybody better.
But
you have like special players at all 3 positions. I know Cooper's not quite there yet, but man, he's going to be good. And I think getting Micah Parsons, it's going to make him better. And the things Halfley can now do, and we haven't even talked about Halfley must be beyond himself. Like the things he can draw up and create with different fronts and different guys coming on blitzes and bringing 4 guys, but maybe it's Cooper and maybe it's Quay and Parsons and Gary. We're going to the possibilities are endless, especially with a great defensive coordinator like Halfley. And then you have special players at all 3 levels. Man, they got something going there. And it's tough not to be excited about the defense. I know there's questions at cornerback for sure. And hopefully, we don't even know if Hobbs is going to be available this weekend. And I think that's a big storyline to talk about. But there's questions there, and there's questions about the interior run defense now without Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton. You got to talk about that, but the potential is there for them to be a top defense this season. And we know Parsons is special. We know McKinney is, but Cooper's the guy that's the breakout star waiting to happen.
No doubt about it, man. And I want the chat has been coming alive tonight. I do want to get to a few of them, but I can't let this one go. So, friend Bob Sweet, appreciate you for being with us tonight. Bob says corners don't matter. Now, come on. It's a little bit more than what I said. I didn't say corners don't matter, but if corner is your weakness, and you have potential all pros at 3 levels of your defense that are not corner, that will lift them up. It'll make their job so much easier. I don't want to say, I don't want to be too over exaggerated, but it makes their job way easier. If a guy has to cover a receiver for 7 seconds versus 4 seconds, it's a big difference. You're going to be a lot more successful if you only got to cover a guy for 4 seconds versus 7 seconds. And that's the difference with your pass rush and with every other level of the defense. So that's why it's like, look, if the corner is not your strength at your defense, it's okay. It's okay because the others will compensate and fill those gaps and make the corners' jobs way easier, and they have a chance to be much better than maybe they otherwise would be. But you have it's not like these guys are slouches. You got some good corners. They're just not all pros. They're not guys that are top of the position in the league right now. But they can get the job done, especially when the job gets easier because you've got the best pass rusher in the league making hell for everybody else. So yeah, I think that corners still matter, but what they've done here and what I want to kind of shift to is, in my opinion, Gute's off the hook. Like he's checked all the boxes, every box that a Packers fan wants to say, oh, you didn't do this, or you won't do that, or it'll never happen. He got them all. We got the 1st-round receiver. We've got now the biggest trade. Is it fair to say the biggest trade in franchise history? It is, isn't it? Is it bigger than Brett Favre? I mean, at the time, we didn't know that Brett Favre was going to be Brett Favre.
Right. At the time, he was the third string quarterback who was, barely hanging on.
He seemed like a draft bust.
Well, he's drinking himself out of the league. So, no. And that was, they had 2 first-round picks, and they gave up one of them in that trade. But it was still like, who the hell is this guy that they're doing? And why is the new GM who just got hired trade for this guy? Like, it's crazy. So, I mean,
it's the Wild West back then. Like,
it was.
I like this guy's attitude.
I mean, that's the greatest trade they've ever made. But at the time, he was far from where Micah Parsons is, right? Like,
and Reggie was a free agent signing, so you can't say he was free agency. So,
man, we'd have to go back. But yeah, I mean, there were some bad ones. Certainly in the 70s was John Hadel. They gave up 2 first-round picks for the quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some
the
bad
dark
ones.
ages. I've heard about the dark. Yeah, I didn't have to live through the dark ages, fortunately.
There were some bad. And maybe at the time it could be. Yeah.
I think like the player at the top of his position, arguably in the league.
Right. And to add to your point about Gute, like the first round receiver who everybody's been yelling about for years. Now he goes out and gets a pass rusher, which they desperately needed. And it's, a star player who the Packers never go out and get, supposedly. And he gave up 2 first-round picks. So the people that hate how he drafts in the first round, they won't have anything to complain about for 2 years.
Excited, yeah.
Everybody complains he doesn't ever have a good first-round pick, which is kind of BS. You can't complain about it because he gave them away now. So you got a couple of years off of that argument. So, yeah, I mean, he's not Ted Thompson, that's for sure.
That's true. That's true. Ted's biggest move was trading back into the first round, I think. As far as trades go, again, we're talking trades. I think there might be some confusion between trades and free agency signings. Because Reggie and Woodson were both free agency signings. But I think Ted's biggest trade was trading back into the first round to get Clay Matthews. Is that fair? I'm trying to think of it.
I'm trying to think of another. I mean, he probably had some other little ones that ended up being big that I can't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that was the biggest splash. I mean, it's the most memorable one, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, Gute's. We knew he was more aggressive already before this than Ted was, and I'm not. Again, we love Ted and what he did. But
Ted had a hand in this. I mean, can you believe that
his last drafted player?
Holy
crap!
On
the roster, yeah. That's crazy to think about, but yeah, I mean, Gute, this fit the box. Like
it did.
I keep coming back to he's 26 years old. He's in his prime. Like this is
like
the guy that you do that
puzzle
for.
Piece, and you found the fit for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If he's 30 or 31, they don't do that. They don't pay the contract and give up the 2 firsts. Right. Like I know Reggie White when they signed him was 31, but that was a different time. That was a free agent. And yeah, they paid him more money than anybody else. And that's why he came to Green Bay. And because God told him to.
Amen.
But the money has a lot to do with that. But that was a different time. And like, that was kind of like they had, I don't want to say they had to do that, but like to get him to Green Bay, they had to do that. And to put Green Bay on the map as a franchise and like to take out the negative image of the Packers, like that was a move they had to make. This is like 26 years old, and it's everything that they could have wanted. And I think if you almost like look at it and went to the Packers and were like, all right, don't worry about the contract, don't worry about the compensation. Like just look on other teams. Who's a player that would want to fill your biggest needs? Who would you pick? And
it was Micah Parsons for me.
Probably Micah Parsons, right? Like,
no doubt about it.
Myles Garrett's probably better than him right now, but Myles Garrett's a little bit older. And he's phenomenal.
Parsons.
But Michael Parsons is younger, and he could probably line up, a few different spots. Myles Garrett doesn't move around a ton, but I'm not gonna. Myles Garrett is better. He's got the defensive, but he's a few years older.
3 years from now, Micah Parsons is the top of his game.
So that's why I think like if you were to say Gute, pick a guy, it probably would have been Parsons.
Yeah.
Right. Pass rusher. No. Like he wouldn't have picked the run stuffing defensive tackle like Jerry Jones wanted.
Well, and so the reason, Jerry Jones is like a whole different can of worms. Right. But the reason I say Gute's off the hook, I mean, And I'm not like an old guy, but I've lived through a few GMs now as a Packers fan, and have some memories of, oh, I wish we would have done this, wish we would have done that. And now it feels like, Gute has given us everything we've asked for, right? He's given us all the stuff. We've got all the shiny toys. We signed some big free agents last year, and they turned out. I mean, can you even believe that if I could tell you, hey, you know what? You guys are going to move on from Aaron Jones, but the guy you get is not only going to be a better running back, but also might be as good of a human. And it's just like, what? Who is that? And you get Josh Jacobs, and that's what he is. You're like, oh my goodness. And he's a tank. He's like one of the only running backs who can actually take a beating and just not get injured. So that's wild on a team who our, biggest problem is injuries. But then, you got Xavier McKinney, who looks like he's an all-pro. Yeah, you just got all these boxes. Then you draft Edgerrin Cooper, who looks like he's headed for all-pro status. There's so much happening, and Gute has, he's gone up, he's gone down, he's gotten first picks, he's gotten the first-round receiver with Matthew Golden. I mean, he's just giving you everything. He's giving you all the things. So there's no thing at this point where it's like, well, Gute didn't try because he didn't do this. It's like I can't. It's not there anymore. If something goes wrong from here out, it's not Gute's fault. It's somebody else's fault.
He's giving, like, you can't say he's not going for it, right? Like,
he's going for it.
He's going for it, but he's going for it smartly. He's not adding, an older player. He's not bringing back Randall Cobb, right? When it was, you could see Randall Cobb wasn't the player he was, right? He's not trying to bring in an old and broken Odell Beckham Jr. He's getting guys that are in their prime, and I think he even alluded in his press conference after the Parsons trade about getting McKinney and Jacobs. Like, when you have a chance to get unique special players, you go get them. And to me, it's also a sign of, like, dysfunctional teams do stupid dysfunctional things. Xavier McKinney should have never hit the free agent market. Like, and obviously the Giants Saquon Barkley go at the same time. Like, what the hell were they thinking?
Unreal, man.
Packers take advantage of it. Jacobs, he was kind of coming off an injury, but he was still a stud running back. And they had, another coaching and GM change, and those guys have changed again. But, like, what were you thinking letting Jacobs leave? So the Packers saw those two players in free agent, and they're like, we really like them. We think they're among the best at their positions. We got to go get them. And they're free agents. We're going to have to pay a lot for them, probably overpay a little bit. We're going to go do it. And by the way, McKinney's contract looked crazy when not crazy, but it was, some people were like, hey, they paid too much. He's been worth
not
it.
Anymore.
Right. And there's been a lot of safeties that have passed him. So not only does he look good on the field, but, like, his contract now looks a lot better a year later. But, like, you take advantage of those dysfunctional teams, right? And he did with McKinney and Jacobs, and they did with Micah Parsons. Because Jerry Jones, his ego was hurt. A player wouldn't bow down to him and take his terms. And Jerry, it's more important to Jerry to, win a negotiation than it is for him to win games and to put the best team on the field. So Packers don't care about that. They want the best players. And
that's been his criticism for a long time is, the ego. And obviously that was the kind of the debate with Jimmy Johnson, what happened there, and, egos winning out, all that. But yeah, Dez talked about this. Dez Bryant talked about this when Jerry, it sounded like, tried to do the same thing to him. And Dez tells a story where it's like, he's in the meeting room and they're looking down on the field, and he could tell Jerry's kind of starting to talk to him, about negotiations. And he asked Jerry, he's like, Jerry, what would happen if we lined up down there? You think you could cover me? And he laughs. He's like, no, you're the best, man. You would destroy me. And he goes, exactly. So why am I sitting here at the negotiating table with you? And it's stunning to think about that, but it's like, dang, Jerry, somebody just called you on your game, dude. Like, we get it. We see you. Like, you're trying to get and he's gotten credit over the years for being a great negotiator and being a great businessman. And I'm sure some of those tactics are not always on the straight and narrow, just like trying to negotiate directly with a player when you should negotiate with an agent. Right. And in this situation, he overplayed his hand, and the unfortunate thing for them is, gosh, like, Micah doesn't seem like he really wanted that. I don't think he regrets being a Packer, and I think he's going to fall in love with Green Bay, and Dallas will be a distant memory. But, you you chased that guy away. And I'm again not even a Cowboys fan, but Jerry used to talk about getting a war daddy. Charles Haley was a war daddy, and who's DeMarcus Ware was a war daddy. And he used to always talk about that. Well, you finally got one, and you chased him away. Like it's just kind of I hurt for Cowboys fans because if I was a fan of a team like that, I just wouldn't be able to keep doing it, man. So I kind of say all that to say, like, be grateful, Packers fans, that we don't have an owner like that.
Right.
And the fact that they've got the rule that ushered in Ed policy where it forced Mark Murphy to retire at his peak, I think. Mark Murphy's at the top of the mountain. And the way he went out was amazing. I thought it was awesome. With the draft and everything, he's a beloved character now in Green Bay, and he should be. He accomplished a lot of great things for Green Bay. They should have done that with Jerry. They should have set him up long in advance to say, look, man, at this age, let's hand this thing off. Let's do a nice send off for you. You can still post up in your throne in the owner's box and, Jerry World and all that, but let us run things from here out. And because they haven't done that, I think they're paying the price now because, again, they overplayed their hand here. They way overplayed their hand. And I think they're lucky that a team like the Packers was even available to not only provide compensation that felt somewhat fair, but also be able to take on the contract. I don't think that combination of things was very big. You know what I mean? I think it was only probably maybe a couple, and even the willingness has to be there at that point. So, yeah, it's just, hey, man, Micah Parsons is a Packer.
And be glad the Packers don't have an owner, right? This is another example of that. Be glad they don't have an owner. And,
absolutely.
Jerry's out there promoting his Netflix special, and that's more important to him. And I think the biggest news for Jerry was I saw the franchise values came out, and it's estimated they're worth like $13 billion, the Cowboys. That's the most important thing to him is how much his team's worth and how much money he's making. It's not whether they win or lose and how far they get, right? Because they haven't been to an NFC Championship game in like 30 years, let alone a Super Bowl. That's secondary. Like if they can win, great, but he wants all the attention. He wants all of the, credit for that kind of stuff. And if he's not getting, he still wants them in the news, and he still wants to be bringing the money. And that's what
one of the biggest sports franchises in the world, and they haven't won a championship in most of their fans' lives. And to me, that data, all that is proof that Jerry is just robbing Cowboys fans blind.
They have,
and I talk to people about it a lot, like the difference between the experience and people want to understand, like, well, geez, how did Jerry do what he's done? Think about this. If you're going to go to a Packers game, and I haven't been, so maybe I'm a little out of my numbers, but I bet I'm still pretty close. If you want to pay for like close parking right by Lambeau, you're probably spending about $40-$50 right now, maybe more than that. Chat, if somebody's out there that's got some recent data, let me know. It used to be even cheaper than that. But I'm trying to, think about what it might be after inflation and stuff. So I'm thinking like $40-$50 to park in a yard that's pretty close to Lambeau still. I'm not talking about the commercial parking and all that. I don't know about all that. But you can park in a yard and be very close to Lambeau, and you'll probably walk out of there with a free beer and a brat because there'll be people tailgating there and they'll welcome you in. To park even within like a not Ubering distance of Jerry World, it's going to cost you like $100 to $200, and to park close, you're looking closer to $400 to park, not to go into the game, not to buy a beer, not for a good seat, to park. That's the difference. One of them is going directly into the economy. The other one's going directly into Jerry's pocket for producing a mediocre product for 3 decades. That's the part where it's like, Packers fans, we are spoiled rotten. And that is not a bad thing. I'm not condemning anybody, but I think some people were kind of asking, well, what role did Ed Policy play in this? Ed Policy played a fat role in this by not playing a fat role in this. And he, by being in the position that he's in, because the Packers have a rule that says you can't be president after a certain age, that's his involvement in this. And the opposite of that, the inverse of Ed Policy, is Jerry Jones. So you, instead of being on the wrong side of Micah Parsons, you're on the right side of Micah Parsons.
And you can see the spin too that it's come out after the trade, like all these, he's got a back injury, and he wasn't a great teammate, and this is how the negotiations went. They agreed to that. Like, all this stuff is getting leaked out now. And it's pretty one-sided to make Micah look not good. And it's coming from Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's just pathetic. And
if you know anything about the Packers medical staff, you know how conservative they are. There's no way this trade gets done if there's an ounce of risk.
Right. And there's no way he's practicing on Monday pushing a blocking sled if his back is, if he's taking an epidural and all these, like, come on, get out of here. Yeah, he's got a back issue or whatever it is, a strain. Nothing that's major. And they're going to have to, manage it, at least for right now, for a little while. But they're also going to manage him anyway because he hasn't practiced. Like, he was holding in, as they say, holding out, really. So he hasn't practiced. So we're not going to see Micah Parsons play every snap against the Lions, and especially not when they're playing another game on Thursday after that. Like, they're going to manage his snaps, and maybe he's more of a situational pass rusher these first 2 games or whatever it may be, but he's not going to be completely full go out there as many snaps as he can take the first 2 weeks. It might be 4 weeks, and then they have their bye week, and maybe after that point he can really turn it loose. But this isn't like a major issue, and all these reports that came out is like he's getting epidurals, and there's these second opinions and all this stuff. And then what it came down to is like he's getting treatment on his back, but it's nothing major. It's not a disc issue. It's nothing on his spine or anything like that. It's something that he's managed, and we know how conservative the Packers coach or medical staff is. There's no way in hell they'd have him out there practicing with a major back issue, and there's no way the Packers make a trade if he's got a major back issue. So
not a chance.
Yeah, it goes back to all the garbage coming out of Dallas now because they know they're getting killed for making a bad trade.
Yeah. And as much as we love Kenny, and I do think, so to my Cowboys fan friends that I've talked to, I've told them, like, you're going to like Kenny Clark. I thought he was going to have a good season. I thought, with a new D-line coach, rolling back to nose, he looks like he's healthy. I thought he was in for a good season. So I don't think, he's kind of a throwaway piece in this deal or something. The Cowboys fans will like Kenny Clark, and I think he's got a few years left in him. I don't think he's done. But at the end of the day, man, like, this is the move that you want to see Gute make if now's the time, right? Like, if they're serious about making a run, and he's saying urgency's got to be up. At the end of the day, I think it came down to him. It's like, dude, are you standing by that or not? And he did. So yeah, just a huge excitement. Yeah, and I know that we're probably like at the end of the line of podcasts that have gotten to talk about Parsons by at this point in time, but just all the way around right now, Packers fans, you got to just like take this in, soak it up, and somebody on another podcast that, shout out to NFL Outdated and the Freezing Four podcast. I jump on with them sometimes, and they asked me about, well, what does it feel like? And I was like, it's kind of like when we won the Super Bowl. And it's not that there's anything accomplished by this. Trust me, like when we won the Super Bowl, it was pretty awesome. But it's that feeling where it's like, dang, this never happens. Like, is this really happening to the Packers, right? This never happens. And not to say that the Super Bowls never happened for the Packers, because they do. It's just been a while now. And for football fans in general, most of them can go their lifetime without seeing a Super Bowl. Vikings fans, Lions fans, and some others, but we've been fortunate. We've seen a few, and maybe some younger Packers fans weren't around to see the 2010 win or something like that. But the point being is, it doesn't happen a lot. If we were to win the Super Bowl this season, a lot of us might be like, I may never see this again, and so it's that. In that way, I compare it to winning the Super Bowl because of just the rarity of it. It's like, oh my, I can't believe this is happening to my favorite team. I can't believe that. That's crazy. But beyond that, man, it really does all add up, and it's very exciting. So, week 1 against the Lions.
Yeah, and we can bring Micah Parsons into this because I don't know how much he's going to play. He's going to play. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. He's going to play. He's not going to play every down. I don't know how creative. No, I don't know how creative they're going to be with him right out of the chute because he's just there. He's practicing. I think he's going to be on some kind of a pitch count. Just because, whether he had a back issue or not, he hasn't practiced since last season with the Cowboys. You don't want to risk it with a guy like that. He could go out there and pull a groin, pull a hamstring, something like that, because he just hasn't gone out there and done it. And they have to turn around and play on Thursday. But, man, they have the potential. Michael Parsons isn't just an edge rusher. He's a guy you can move around and be a chess piece. And when he was in Dallas and Dan Quinn was his defensive coordinator, they moved him around a ton. He can line up on the interior. He can line up just standing at a linebacker position on the interior and beat guards and centers clean one-on-one. And you can design things to get him one-on-one. They have a huge advantage with that against the Lions because the Lions have 3 new starters essentially on the offensive line on the interior. So Ragnow retired to center. So Graham Glasnow, he's been a starter for them before at guard. Now he kicks to center. He's going to start at center. He's a veteran. Not bad, but he's kind of average player. He's beatable. He's no all-pro or anything like that. They're starting a rookie at Tate Ratledge. He's going to play right guard, I believe. One of the 2 guards, but I believe it's right guard. And then the other guard's Christian Mahogany, who's a second-year player. I think he was like a 6th-round pick last year. Only played a few snaps for them. Maybe started 1 game. But very little snap and experience production for them in 2024. So they're inexperienced and a lot of unknowns up front. Maybe Ratledge and Mahogany are going to be really good. We don't know. But first NFL game for Ratledge, first time as the starter for Mahogany. You got a chance to line up Parsons in the middle. You got a chance for Halfley to design some things to get him one-on-ones. I would be doing it all day. Line them up over the center. Line them up over the guards. Loop them in on stunts. Attack those guys. And there's also a game, and I think he's faced Penei Sewell once or twice.
I saw those highlights going around.
He's got some good numbers against Sewell, and Sewell's a stud. I mean,
Yeah.
Sewell's up there with Lane Johnson among the best right tackles.
Absolutely.
Nobody beats him. Parsons has beat him pretty good. I don't know if that's going to happen again because Sewell's just that good. You can't just – but maybe Parsons has something on him. Maybe he's got his number. Maybe whatever. Maybe he's just a tough matchup for Sewell. But there's that too. But to me, it's get Parsons lined up on the interior somehow. Get him matched up with those interior guys and test them because I think that's where he can make your difference. Now, he's that good where you can just say, all right, you got Taylor Decker on the outside, just go kill him. And he can do that. We know he can do he's that, but they got the ability to really kind of toy with those interior guys and see if they're up to the task because this is the first time they're together as a starting unit and they're the weak link on that offense. So defensively, that's what I'm looking for is what they can do against the 2 guards in the center because that's the new part of it. And this is going to be a big storyline and a big thing to watch is they have 2 new coordinators on both sides of the ball.
Right.
And offensively,
unscouted looks.
Unscouted, but John Morton was there, but then he left, and now he's back. So he's kind of an outsider a little bit. I mean, he's got experience with Campbell, but he's more of an outsider than the defensive coordinator, Calvin Shepard. So it's going to be a little bit of a different offense. And Ben Johnson, I mean, I don't like Ben Johnson. We'll get to the Bears later on this season. He was really good at designing an offense, calling an offense, beyond the trick plays, but he made Jared Goff look damn good. And he knew how to take advantage of what Goff does well. I don't know if John Morton can jump in and do that right away. It's certainly he's not going to be at Ben Johnson's level, and he may never be at Ben Johnson's level as a play caller and designer. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, there's unscouted looks, but I think they're going to still try to do a lot of what they've been doing. I just don't know if Johnson can call the game the right way to do that. So that'll be something. And then without Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton, can they hold up? I think Detroit will probably try to come out and test the interior and pound the ball with Montgomery and Gibbs, which will maybe allow the interior offensive lineman to kind of settle in and let's get them out firing off the ball and try to run block here. So Colby Wooden, Carl Brooks, Devontae Wyatt, the Georgia kids going to be tested, I think, right off the bat. Can they hold up against the run? So that's the offensive part of it. If you want to jump in here, go ahead before you hop over.
Yeah, man. So I agree with you. I think from the Packers defensive perspective, attacking the Detroit Lions offense, I think you have to take advantage of, Glasgow, who is an average probably center, as you're saying, and Rutledge is somebody who we did like as a rookie coming out. I liked him. I thought he looked good coming out of Georgia. But he's still a rookie, right? There's a lot to be learned. And he's surrounded by, again, Sewell and some of these other guys. They're going to be a good offensive line. They won't be the offensive line they were last season. But I don't think they'll be terrible. But you definitely have to try to take advantage of those guys early on and try to get them on their heels and guessing and second guessing themselves, kind of to keep them from doing what you mentioned, getting that downhill momentum, running the ball, and getting some swagger about them. You definitely have to take advantage of that. And I think we got a little bit zoomed in on Micah Parsons there. You can use him and he's impactful, but he's going to have ripple effects. So if they're trying to account for, Parsons and wherever he is, well, are you accounting for Edgerrin Cooper too? Because he's kind of a freak athlete. Are you accounting for Rashawn Gary? What else is coming at you for where you're compensating with where Micah Parsons is coming at you? And that's, I think, the chess match that will get exposed, like you're saying, with the new offensive coordinator in Detroit. I was talking last year about how does Hafley handle the chess match in the game. And now Hafley, I think, is ahead of this guy, right? He's got a year under his belt in the chess match, and I think he's well suited to win, right? So that's where I think that'll be tough for the Lions early on. Even if it is similar offense or even the same offense, it's not the same mind calling plays. So there's going to be differences in that, whether it's emotional or strategic, whatever it is. There's a different person calling plays. They're going to make different decisions than the past person did, and for different reasons. So that's where I think Hafley's got a really big advantage as a coordinator to take advantage of the Lions offense early on.
Yeah, maybe you put Parsons outside a lot, and they're going to slide protection that way, and then that's when you shoot Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper up the middle on blitzes, and see how.
I mean, that's the beauty of this thing. They've got options,
right?
So, I'm excited. I think that obviously they're not a bad offense. We can't sit here and just be like, oh, we're going to slaughter them. No. I think it's still a challenge. You've got some great players there. You got to account for St. Brown. Goff's no slouch as a quarterback. I wonder how much he's a product of Ben Johnson. And how much he's actually kind of a polished quarterback of his own and capable of carrying himself in his play on, with a new coordinator. We're going to see. But he's not the greatest athlete. So, I would try to make sure that he's got as little time to make a decision as possible. That would be a goal of mine for sure. And you got to get them behind the schedule, right? Like, you don't want them to be able to just pound the rock on you because you want the clock to not be their friend. So, I think that's the way to take advantage of him.
I was just going to say Goff's numbers are drastically different as far as when he's pressured and when he's not. Like, when he gets pressure, he's among the worst quarterbacks in the league. And that's statistic.
It's just not a good asset. You can't get away
right. Yeah. And there's still a really good offense, but it's different now with a different play caller. And Goff's, when he's been at his best, he's had Sean McVay and Ben Johnson calling his plays, coordinating his defense, coordinating his offense. Right. So can he do it with another guy? Like, I don't think he's going to completely fall off and be, just a terrible, unplayable quarterback or something like that. But I don't know if he can play at the levels that he's played at without Ben Johnson.
And I certainly think that if I were a Lions fan, I'd be kind of expecting a little bit maybe of a slow start. Because there's things you have to work out. You got to get into the situation to see what you're going to do in the situation, how you're going to respond. So, I wouldn't expect the Lions to come out firing on all cylinders. It could happen. I'm not going to say it can't happen. I just wouldn't expect that. And I think there is an opportunity for Hafley to probably knock them off guard and keep them on their heels. But that can also be helped by the offense, if we're looking at the Packers offense taking on a Lions defense, this is where, obviously the Lions have a great defense, no doubt about it. Hutchinson, we'll see how he looks coming back. But I think they've got vulnerabilities there on that, defensive line. I'm not really that afraid of Davenport at this point, and Terry and Arnold. first-round pick, but didn't grade well last season. So I'm not sure if that's just PFF saying he stinks, but he doesn't actually stink. But didn't grade well. He's not looking good there. So, I mean, they've got strength. Obviously, they might have one of the best safety duos in the league with Branch and Joseph, and their linebackers aren't bad either. But, I don't look at that Lions defense and go, man, how are you going to score against those guys? I think it's, I'm excited to see how the pieces get used, right? I think we understand what Josh Jacobs can do now, and I've listened to a few Matt LaFleur interviews, and I don't think they necessarily understood the beating he was, capable of taking until they saw him, really carrying the load last season. So I don't know that they'll necessarily do that to him, but they might be willing to use him in higher volume or in higher concentration within games than they were going into last season. So that could be important. Is you might be willing to really come out and try to pound him down on the first drive of the game and really get the clock, kind of like what you were saying, the Lions could try to do the Packers. I think the Packers to an extent should be trying to do that to the Lions as well. Try to wear them down early so that they can't just, go ears pinned back and try to rush Jordan Love and sack him with, Aiden Hutchinson. You got to get those guys tired and sort of off balance so that their pass rush is less of a factor. But you've got a whole track squad, man. Like, send Matthew Golden everywhere, jet sweeps downfield. He's everywhere. Send him everywhere. And, play action in the second half should be just an absolute kill shot to this defense. That's kind of a loose prediction or projection for me, I guess.
Yeah, I think they had such a weird training camp with all the injuries at receiver. Jordan Love getting hurt late and missing some time. I think week one, or not even week one, the first probably 4 weeks of the season or so before they really can get into the flow of things, you just got to feed Jacobs and you got to feed Tucker Kraft, because those guys have been kind of the two constants, right? Like they're the guys that haven't missed any time, that are proven. Maybe Musgrave a little bit too, but I think those guys have to be the feature guys. They probably got to be the feature guys all season, but I think especially early, like, you find a way to get them the ball as much as you can. And then you hope that Golden can carry over what he's done throughout training camp in the preseason. I don't think he's going to come out and have like 8 catches for 150 yards or something like that, but you just hope he can pick up some of the key plays. And you hope Romeo Doubs, you can hit him on some slants on third down. You can hit him in the red zone for some some touchdowns or some big plays situationally. But I think you got to feed your big guys, which is Jacobs and Kraft. And I think kind of like the Lions, the Packers aren't going to be firing all cylinders right off the bat. I think the injuries at receiver are going to kind of take some time. Because Jaden Reed, we haven't even touched on him. He may be playing with a broken bone in his foot, which, boy, I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm not real comfortable or confident he's going to make it all the way through. But I think it's going to just take some time for those guys, Wicks and Reed, to get back in the swing of things, because they missed a lot of time, and to get on the same page with Jordan Love. So the offense might be a little bit hit or miss. So it's going to come, defense is going to have to make the plays. But for the Lions, too, they got a new coordinator in defense now. He's an internal guy, so they're probably going to run a lot of the similar things that they ran under Aaron Glenn. But again, it's a new guy calling it. It's a new guy designing it. And that doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes it can, sometimes it doesn't. I think the Lions got, obviously, Hutchinson's a stud. He's probably a level below Parsons, but he's a damn good pass rusher. And then I think they got a really nice secondary, too. And they're always going to play physical. They're always going to hit you and tackle and be in your face. And, there's nowhere to hide against the Lions defense, because they're going to bring it. And they're going to play with a lot of urgency and a lot of tempo and stuff like that. Like, they get the most out of their guys. We saw it last year when they had all the injuries, and they're signing guys off the practice squad and off the street, and they're still coming in there and playing good defense. It's just their mentality. So, expect that. And it's going to be tough for the Packers, I think, to move the ball for a lot of this game. I think it might be one drive, they go down, they look nice, they put up 7, and then you might see 3 drives where they can barely, gain a yard, and they're punting. Just manage the game. Don't have the turnovers, and when you get your opportunities in the red zone, you got to cash in. So I'm more confident going into this game with what the defense can do than the offense. But I think the offense just, feed your big guys and let your other ones, Golden and Dobbs and Reed and Wicks, like let them kind of settle in and kind of play roles, and like they got to go out and make the plays when it's there to be made on third downs and key situations. Don't drop the ball,
Exactly.
but just get it in the hands of Jacobs and Kraft as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there could be some sloppy ball early on. I don't think we should expect the offense to look perfect coming out.
No.
But I do think that there's a high potential for the defense to come out looking pretty sharp. There's just going to be a swag with Parsons coming out. And I can't remember who mentioned this, but it's a vote of confidence to the guys that are already there from the front office. For the guys who are already on that defense, for the front office to go out and get a Micah Parsons and to trade the picks that they did, that's the front office saying, hey, we see you guys. We see what you've done in training camp. We see who you are. Like, you're there. So we're going to take this, risk, and we're going to bring in this big piece, and we're going to go get this thing. So I think that there's going to be just a lot of wind in their sails coming out. And attitude and confidence is a big factor in how a defense performs. A lot bigger, I think, than how an offense performs. Offense is a lot more technical. Defense is a lot more, being able to read and react. And when you're confident, man, like that's why some of the best corners in the league are just some of the cockiest dudes. Like it's tough to beat that. So yeah, I do think that this defense can come out early and make it really tough on the Lions. So you may be looking at kind of a slugfest early on. It might be like a 10-7 first half. But like I said, in the second half, if the Packers have played on offense, the way that they can and with the pieces that they have, the play action should be an absolute killer for the Lions defense. Like because Matthew Golden, there's nobody that's going to be able to run stride for stride with him. Like they're good, they're fast, but they're not. He's the fastest guy on that field. He's going to be behind them in the third and fourth quarter at some point because they're also going to have to see Josh Jacobs still coming downhill. So yeah, the play action, I think, just watch that. Like big old fat, watch that, because that I think could be the most fun part of this game coming up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that could happen. I think it's a good thing that could happen for him.
Yeah. So, but anyway, no, I guess it's time to do our predictions, man. We haven't been doing that, obviously, preseason. Who cares? But yeah, I mean, let's pick this back up. We've been doing predictions the last few years. Why not do them now? So, do I need to, drag this out and cause any mystery about who you pick in week one?
I'll go Packers 24-22.
Picking the Pack. All right, let's go. And what was that score you had?
I said 24-22.
24-22.
It's going to be close.
24-22. That's an interesting score there. All right. Chat, get your predictions in. I would be very surprised to see anything besides Packers, but y'all get your predictions in. Let's see some score predictions there. I think the top could come off in the second half. I think the first half could be relatively uneventful, but I think the Packers are going to be looking for vulnerabilities to expose in the second half, and you could see that early on in the third quarter. So I'm going to say that this one actually goes heavy in the Packers' favor. I'm going to pick the Packers to win, and I'm going to say it is 35-17.
Ooh. Okay.
35-17 out of the gate.
I will tell you, if that happens, plus they made a trade for Micah Parsons, the excitement and the expectations from Packers fans will be like, yeah, it'll be through the roof. I mean, like, they're going to be playing in the Super Bowl celebration at Lambeau.
Yeah,
I hope you're right.
That's what the Parsons move is for. If it's successful, that's what you're doing. You're planning the parade in February, man. So we got a few predictions rolling in. Buddy Matthew Tan, always good to see you, sir. I got 31-24 Packers. All right, fair score there. Packers putting up 31. I like it. We got our showers. Always good to have you. We got Packers winning 23-17. All right, that's a fair score. I just feel like the Packers are going to score more than that. And as we got Judah time. Packers 28, Lions 10. Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. A little more lopsided. I don't think the defense has given up a lot of points at all. I really don't. I don't know if they even give up 20. But all right, we got Steve Ashton Cirillo. Sorry if I messed that up. Hope the Packers win 24-22. Okay, see you. And we got Bill. Good to see you, Bill. Pats is Pack 17-10. He's picking a close one there. Kind of a low scoring affair. I could see that. I could see it happening. Definitely, especially if Josh Jacobs gets going and they can make it a short game. I could see it. But and then our friend Felipe. Good to see you, Felipe. He's got Packers 29-22 winning that game, just like the Thanksgiving game in 2023. Great memory there. Great memory when Jordan was robbed of his turkey, but that's fine. It's fine. Not worried about it. It's gonna be okay. All right. So apologies that we weren't here on Monday night. That was my fault, but we will be back again next Monday night at 9:30, not on Tuesday night. Internet gods willing. But appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. We went a little bit long on this Pack Weekly Pod this week, but I mean, we had to share in some excitement for getting Micah Parsons. I mean, my goodness, this just doesn't happen very often. So I hope everyone enjoyed this this event and got to celebrate a little bit. Call all your Packer fans friends and like chat about it and talk about how much you love Gute because he's the man. But in Gute we trust, right? Like after he's making moves like this, it's in Gute we trust. But if y'all love this pod and had fun with us tonight, man, just share it with a friend. Tell a friend about the Pack Weekly Pod on Monday nights, not Tuesday nights, unless sometimes we got to do it. It just happens. At 9:30 p.m. Central, streaming live on the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hop on over there, subscribe, spike that like button here for us. Just a couple clicks make a big difference. And hey, guys, enjoy the first week of the NFL. Here we go. This is what we have been waiting all summer long for. We're here. We made it, and we will be back next week to talk all about it. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter, but it's going to be good. It's going to be beautiful, and it's Packers football, so we've all got to take it in and enjoy. So, as always, go